Well, hello everybody, this is Cocolito, the Chopper Reviewer. Now, for anybody who has watched my channel, and let's face it, not many of you, know that I am a huge fan of the Sisters of Battle. Recently I've been playing a lot of this game called Warhammer 40,000 Gladius, Relics of War. And this game, in fact, does not have the Sisters of Battle. So I took it upon myself to make a mod to create the Sisters of Battle faction to put into this game. This video is to showcase that mod, which is not complete yet. I am still waiting on the models, so a lot of the models are going to be in-game assets. But all the abilities and traits are complete, along with the quest. So I'm just here to show off what I got, see if you might be interested in trying out this mod. Without further ado, let's take a look. First up, let's take a look at the heroes. Here we have the Canonist. I'm using the Space Marine Captain model for now. Stat-wise, we can see that she has a good armor but low hit points. Her traits are the basic hero trait, the Rosarius trait, which increases her invulnerability damage reduction by 50%, the custom-made Shield of Faith trait, which gives her further invulnerability damage reduction and Witchfire damage reduction, and finally the Stubborn trait. Her weapons of choice are the Power Sword and the custom-made Infernal Pistol, which is a high damage, high armor penetration weapon. The reason for this powerful weapon is to try to offset her lack of offensive abilities when we take a look at her skills. Her first skill is called the Passion. When used, she and all of her allies within 2 tiles of her gets an accuracy bonus. Next up we have Spirit of the Martyr, which for 2 turns she gets a percentile HP regeneration. The third ability is called Lead the Righteous. When used, all allies within 1 tile range of her gets a special buff. When they deal damage while having this buff, that damage is converted to influence for the faction. And influence is very important for the Sisters of Battle, seeing as how it's going to be used for a lot of the skills I'm going to show you soon. Finally, her elite ability is called Clinical Precision. It's a passive trait in which all allies within 1 tile range of her gets extra armor penetration and bonus damage to their attacks. Our next hero is the Arch Confessor, which can be researched at tier 2. When we look at his stats, he has low armor and low hit points. Looking at his trait, he has the basic hero trait, he has the Rosarius trait, and he has the Zealot trait. When we look at his weapons, he has the Redeemer Shotgun, which is a 2-tile, 2-attack shotgun. And he also has a chainsword. Looking at his abilities, we see that he has the Emperor's Strength ability, which grants him the Smash trait. Smash increases his armor penetration up to 10 points, while also giving him bonus damage. Next, we have the Emperor Protects, which gives all allies within 1 tile radius of him a bonus armor and invulnerability save buff. Next, we have the Righteousness of the Emperor, which increases the damage done by all allies within 1 tile radius around him. Finally, his elite ability, Banner of Sanctity, which is a passive trait, which grants all allies within 1 tile radius of him a moral and melee attack boost, and additionally granting an overall loyalty bonus to the cities. Our next hero is the Order Hereticus Inquisitor, which can be researched at tier 3. When we look at his stats, he has average armor with low hit points. His traits are the Hero trait, Defense Orbs, which grant him a small armor and vulnerability save, and the Stubborn trait. His weapons of choice are the Condemner Bolt Gun, which acts like a normal bolt gun, but does give him a special ability that I'll show you in a second, and the Power Sword. His first ability, bouncing off of that Condemner Bolt Gun, is called the Condemner Stake. When used against a Psyker, it reduces their overall hit points by a percentage, by 1/3, 1/2, or 2/3. Based on the level of the ability. Against non-Psyker units, it does a very small amount of overall damage. His next ability is called Authority of the Inquisition. All allies within 2 tile range get a moral buff, while all enemies within 2 tiles of the Inquisitor gets a moral debuff. The third ability is called the Servo Skull. The Inquisitor can summon a Servo Skull within 3 tiles range of him. The Servo Skulls themselves have the Scout ability, giving the Inquisitor the ability to scout out areas at long range. The Servo Skulls also grant a debuff to enemies near it, making enemies weak against ranged attacks. But these Servo Skulls are not invincible, they can be destroyed by the enemy, and very easily. Finally, the elite ability, Burner of Worlds. Similar to the Orbital Strike done by the Space Marine Captain, except this is a lower damage attack with multiple attacks. Now our first infantry unit is called the Battle Sisters. Similar to many ways to the tactical Space Marines, they have high armor and carry bolt guns. But they have much lower hit points. Even with a squad of 6, they have less hit points than the 5-man squad the Space Marines have. What truly separates them is the Shield of Faith trait, which grants them just a little bit more defense abilities. At Tier 2, you can research an ability to unlock the Light of the Emperor ability, which, at the cost of some influence, can grant them the Preferred Enemy trait, which boosts up their accuracy. Our next Infantry squad, which is unlocked after researching the armory, is called the Dominion. They are the scout troops of the Sisters of Battle, but they are also the only scout troop that doesn't have extra mobility, being as how they're only foot troopers. Now, while they do have good armor, being only a 4-member squad with low hit points does hurt them. What they do excel at is with their weapons. They are all equipped with melta-guns, which, although is only a 1-tile range, can be devastating to any high armor units. And melta-guns are considered assault weapons, so they do not get any accuracy penalties for moving and shooting. Additionally, at Tier 3 you can unlock their Special Act of Faith, which, when used at a cost of influence, will grant them the Ignores Cover special role to their weapons. So enemies hiding in cover will not take any reduced damage, and will have to take the full force of their Melta Blast. And unlocked at Tier 2, we have the Jump Troops, the Seraphim. Now, like any of the Sisters of Battle squads, they do have high armor with low hit points, and those low hit points really come into play, seeing as how they're only a 3-member squad. But although they lack survivability, they make up for it in offensive capabilities. And they are capable of melee combat, meaning any squads they run into, they will completely decimate with their template weapons and their melee attacks, just as long as they're able to survive to get into combat. And at Tier 4 you can unlock the Emperor's Deliverance Act of Faith, which, when used, again at a cost of influence, will grant them the Shred ability. Shred, which is a custom trait I made, increases their damage output by 25%. At Tier 3, you can unlock the Heavy Weapon Squad called the Retributors. They are a 4-member squad carrying Heavy Bolters. With 4 Heavy Bolters firing 3 shots apiece with 2 damage and 2 armor penetration, they can completely decimate light armored units. But they are heavy weapons, so moving with them will reduce their accuracy. At Tier 4, you can unlock their Act of Faith called Divine Guidance, which grants their weapons the Rending ability. Now for a quick look at the light armored transports, we get the Sororitas Rhino, which is unlocked when you research the armory. It has an average amount of armor and hit points, but it does have the Shield of Faith trait, and a transport capacity of 2 units. It is armed with a Stormbolter and can get a second Stormbolter when a certain research ability is unlocked. And it has the Self-Repair ability, which every 3 turns can be used to repair 4 hit points. The next transport, which also acts as the first battle tank for the Sisters, is the Emulator. Similar to the Rhino, it has an average amount of armor and hit points, and its cargo capacity is only 1 squad. But where it makes up for its failings is with its Emulator Flamer, which acts as a twin-linked heavy flamer, dealing heavy damage to squads that get too close to it. And here we have the main battle tank for the Sisters of Battle, the Exorcist. It does have a good amount of armor and much better hit points, but where it becomes a devastating unit comes with its weapon, the Exorcist Missile Launcher, which fires out 3 high damage, high armor penetration missiles, which can be upgraded to 4 per shot with a certain research ability. Now, unlocked at Tier 5, we have the Penitent engines. They have an average amount of armor and not much hit points as far as walkers go. Their traits are Open Top, which actually makes them weak against template weapons, but they do get the Rage trait, increasing their melee attacks. Shield of Faith for just a little bit more defense. And for weapons we have 2 Scorchers, which act as heavy flamers for now, and the names will be changed when some models get imported. And the Penitent Saw, which with their Rage trait gives them 5 total attacks at very high damage and high armor penetration. So while as far as walkers go they're easy to kill, they deal a heavy amount of damage in melee. And unlockable at Tier 6 we have the Repentia. And as we can see, they have no armor and low hit points as far as a 5-member squad goes. Their traits are Fearless, Rage, Fleet, increasing their movement, and the Shield of Faith. Now while they are extremely easy to kill, where their strength comes from is their weapons. They each carry Eviscerator chainswords, which deal good damage and have a very high armor penetration. And with their Rage trait, at full strength, they can deal 15 attacks with their Eviscerators. This can do a very heavy amount of damage to any armored units in the game, just as long as they survive to get there. At Research Tier 8, you can unlock Spirit of the Martyr Act of Faith, which, at the price of some influence, can give them a 67% feel no pain for a turn. This can greatly improve their survivability when moving in to deal some heavy damage. At tier 8, you can also unlock the Hospitaller. While only being a 2-member squad and very easy to kill, they only wield bolt pistols, but their main use is their ability to heal other units, making them very valuable additions to any army. At tier 6, when you unlock the Sky Shield landing pad, you also unlock the Avengers Strike Fighter, the first and only offensive area unit the Sisters of Battle get. While its armor and hit points are very low, it makes up for their defense with an amazing weapon called the Avenger Bolt Cannon, dealing 7 attacks at 2 range with 3 damage and 4 armor penetration per shot. It also comes with a twin-linked blast cannon. And at tier 9, you can unlock the Hellstrike missiles, further increasing their offensive capabilities. At tier 8, you can unlock the Arvis Lighter, which, although it is an aerial unit, does not have much of any offensive capabilities. Instead, it is the main troop transport for the Sisters of Battle. Having 4 cargo spots, it can transport 4 units, using its orbital jump ability, which will teleport it to any spot on the map that isn't covered in a fog of war. But be careful, because it is very easy to get shot down. At tier 3, when you unlock the Loyalty building, you also unlock the Missionaries. They do have low armor and low hit points for a 5-member squad, and their traits are the Rosarius and Zealot. They also carry las pistols and chainsword, and although they seem weak and inefficient, they have an ability called Warhams, which grants them and all allies around them 1 extra melee attack, which can be very useful when grouped up with Repentia and Penitent engines and any heroes that are moving into melee. Additionally, they can rise Honored Imperiums. An Honored Imperium is a statue that's raised at a cost of influence to grant a stubborn buff to all allies within 1 tile range of it, and range damage reduction to anybody in that same range. And here we have the main builders for the Sisters of Battle, the Tech Priest Engine Seer. They work very similar, if not identical, to the Astra Militarum Engine Seers, except for one very special ability. At tier 5, you can unlock the Imperial Bunker ability, which is a fortification with anti-air weapons, and you can garrison up to 2 units in there. And finally, at Research tier 9, you can unlock the Living Saint hero. You can see here that the Living Saint has an incredibly high armor, but low hit points. Special traits are Fearless, the hero trait, Hit and Run. This hero is a jump unit after all. Armor a Saint Catherine, which increases invulnerability saves by 50%. Martyrdom, which I won't go into detail because right now I can't get this to work. Hopefully by the final build it will be working. And Shield of Fate. Her weapons are the Ardent Blade, which does an average amount of damage with a decent amount of armor penetration with 5 attacks. And that same blade also acts as a heavy flamer. The Living Saint's special abilities are Beacon of Faith, which reduces the morale loss of all allies within 1 tile range of her. Heal and Tears, which is a passive trait which generates health for her and her allies within range per turn. Saintly Blessings, when used on a Sister of Battle, gives them the ability to use an Act of Faith for free, and her elite ability, Miraculous Intervention, which, if she dies, she is resurrected at full health, and it does have a 25 turn cooldown time. And at tier 10, you can unlock an ability called Angelic Host, which lets her deep strike every 3 turns anywhere on the map that's not covered in a fog of war. Other tier 10 research abilities include Bulletstorm, which, when researched, grants Retributors and Emulator tanks the ability to greatly increase their damage to squads. Angelic Host, which I've mentioned previously, also applies to Seraphim squads, and grants Seraphim squads Fearless and extra damage. And the Repentant Host, which grants Repentia and Penitent engines the Rampage ability. Repentia get a bonus to their Feel No Pain ability, and Penitent engines gain the It Will Not Die trait. While Sisters of Battle do not get super heavy weapons like many of the other factions, they make up for it with these abilities which greatly increase the effectiveness of their weaker units. So, this has been a quick look into the systems of battle. There is some more to go into detail about, but I just wanted to keep this focused on the units themselves, and maybe a little bit of research. I hope you're all excited to check out this mod. I am very excited to get this complete and get it out there to all of you. I will leave a link down in the description to where you can download this mod and try it out. Even though the models are not in there, you can still give them a shot to see if you can come up with any strategies you can use when playing the game. Well, that's all from the Choppy Reviewer. I'll see you all later.